I'm here in Austin, Texas, and I arrived to the Lodge Card Club on Monday around 2 p.m. and today I won't be playing on the main floor. No, I'll be playing in the brand new Lodge Livestream studio. I buy $20,000 worth of chips, willing to risk it all if necessary. This game is going to be huge. It starts out as a 10-25 game, which becomes a 10-25-50 with sometimes $100, $200 straddles. The stacks are massive, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Let's get started. In this first hand, there's a raise from early position to $250. I've got Jack 10 suited in the big blind, a beautiful hand versus this large 5x raise size from under the gun. I decide to just call, and we go heads up to a King Jack 5 board. Flopping second pair, I check, and the initial raiser checks behind. Turn card for a clubs, now bringing in a flush draw. I decide to lead out here for a $400 bet, trying to get called by all straight draws, all flush draws. My opponent's got queen high and decides to fold, and we take down the first pot. We now decide to play the nit game, which is basically the stand-up game, except we're all sitting. This game definitely drives some action. Basically what happens is everybody gets a nit button, the red button in front of you, and if you win a hand, you give your button back to the dealer. If you're the last person holding the button, you owe everybody at the table a bounty. The penalty for this game is $100 per player, so it definitely incentivizes you to get in there and try to win some pots. Well, I still have my nit button, only a couple players left, so I've got to start getting in there, getting aggressive and win a pot. So I 3-bet 6-7 suited at $250. My opponent makes the call. We go heads up to a King 6-7 board, flopping bottom two pair. He checks. I bet out $400 and he folds his jack high. In order to give your button back to the dealer, though, you have to show your cards to the table. I table my hand. The dealer pushes me the pot and takes away the button. A little bit of relief that I won't be losing this first nit game. A few hands later, there's a $100 straddle on. Brazil God still has his nit button along with a couple other players. He calls $100. Heart calls $100. I'm in the big blind with pocket fives, a hand I definitely want to be seeing a flop with here multi-way. Looking for a set. T1000 makes the call. Mike D checks his option in the straddle. We go 5 ways with pocket fives to 10, 7, 5, 2 clubs, bottom set for us. Given the fact that this is so multi-way, I decide to check here, looking to hopefully check raise, but unfortunately the action checks all the way through. Turn card Jack of Hearts. I lead out for almost a pot-sized bet of $500, and I get raised by Mike D to $1,500. It doesn't make too much sense. He didn't bet the flop, so I don't think he's got too strong of a hand here. He could easily have a straight, though. I consider re-raising on this turn card, but given the fact that I have bottom set, I think the right play is to call and evaluate what happens here on the river, which is the 6 of clubs. Not my favorite card. I check, and he instantly checks back. Pocket fives are good, and after seeing his hand, Jack 3 offsuit, I'm guessing he was raising the turn so that he could check back the river. I am curious what would have happened if I put in another raise on the turn, maybe to $4,000, or if I would have jammed. He probably would have folded his Jack 3, but we will never know. I'm now in the game for $8,000 with a tiny profit of $190. The $100 straddles on in this hand, and Yu-Chan opens it up here in the big blind at $300. I've got ace-queen offsuit, which seems like a very standard 3-bet spot here, so I make it $1,050. T1000 gets out of the way, and Yu-Chan folds. We take down some dead money here with ace-high. We now decide to play another nit game. This time the penalty is $150 per person. It's growing now. There's a raise to $75. This player has his button. I still have my nit button with King 10 offsuit in the hijack. I decided to 3-bet to $250. And now T1000 to my left, who also has a nit button, cold 4-bets me to $800. The action's now on the small blind, who cold 5 bets to $2,500. You can see why we like to play this nit game. It definitely increases the action. All the players end up folding, and Brazil God takes down this pot. A huge triple straddle is on in this hand. Blinds are at 10, 25, 50, 100, 200. There's a raise to $500 in the cutoff by a very action player, Ala. There's a call on the button, and now I look down at pocket jacks in the small blind. Well, As you can see, I still have my knit button in front of me. There's only 2 other players at the table who also have their knit button. Only 3 people left in the game, and I have a decision here with pocket jacks. Well, with the $200 straddle on, my $8,000 stack is only 40 big blinds. There's a lot of dead money so far in this pot. I could re-raise to like $2,500, or I could just jam it all in.
I'm just telling it like it is. Dim sum was not cheap.
Pocket jacks for Lexo. Rips it, 8,000. Wants to shut it down. Lexo does not want to be the nit and pay the $150 tax. Allah with the 7 Dewey.
Hooks. This is the hand. I knew it.
I decided with the $200 straddle, only 40 big blinds, just to rip it all in, take down this dead money pre-flop, and also hopefully lose my knit button, which is exactly what happens. We play another knit game about 20 hands later. There's a raise from Brazil God to $200. He has been given the action here at this table, raising a lot of hands. With ace jack of diamonds and the knit button here in the big blind, I decide to re-raise to $900. Hoping either take down this money pre-flop or go heads up here against Brazil God, who's playing almost every single hand, which is what happens. He makes the call with Jack 10 offsuit, and we go heads up, almost $2,000 in the middle already, to a queen high board with 1 diamond. We do completely miss, but on this particular flop, I don't expect him to have too strong of a hand. I start out with a small bet of $500.
Lexo.
2 yellows and a black.
And Brazil God is feeling himself. Raises
Have a flush draw.
to 2,100.
No.
After 3-betting pre-flop and seeing this flop, my plan was to bet, and jam the river, hoping to get him to fold and for us to win and lose our knit button. Well, this plan has changed when he raises me here on the flop to $2,100. My initial thought is, well, I guess we just have to fold our ace high. He must have me beat. But then I start to think to myself, what kind of hands would he be doing this with? If he had flopped a set of 4s or 7s, would he really raise on such a dry board? Would he ever raise a top pair holding like Queen 10 or Queen 9? I don't feel like he would. There's a ton of bluffs he can have in his range. All hands like 5, 6. He could even have smaller pocket pairs, worse ace highs. After analyzing this hand, not thinking he has a top pair or a set, I'm pretty sure my ace jack is good here, but what do I do facing this $2,100 raise? Do I call $2,100 out of position with ace high and hope he gives up on the turn that we hit an ace? Do I fold and maybe get bluffed on a live stream and still have my knit button? Or do I go all in? I think for a while, and then finally I come up with my decision.
I think he's going to lay it down.
Yeah, he's going to lay it down. Will be a sick jam. Don't see it happening.
All in.
All in,
Oh,
nice.
in. Wow. Lexo stuffs it on him.
My apologies, Lex. Take a bow. Well played.
I believe. I think I heard.
Very nice.
I believe said fold first. Can we check?
Sick jam indeed. Realizes that he's got the best hand. Flexes, takes it down. Nice cowboy hat. Better
Had
glasses.
the best hand, right? Ace high was good. Motherfucker. Ace high was good. We shared the jack though, but the ace was good.
Very nice.
This hand really kind of brings me full circle here in Texas. Just about a year and a half ago, I had pocket queens facing a cold 4-bet button versus small blind versus big blind, and I incorrectly folded queens for a little over 100 big blinds on a live stream. Maybe one of the nittiest folds I've ever made. So to now come back here in Texas and jam all in as a bluff with ace high for $8,000, I definitely feel more confident in these games. And I'm glad I was able to up my level of play to hopefully be able to compete with some of these crazy Texas players. Okay, back to the poker hands. $100 straddles on. There's a cutoff raise here to $300. I've got ace-9 offsuit on the button. With all this dead money in here pre-flop versus a cutoff open, I decide to 3-bet bluff here to $1,000 with ace-9 offsuit. My plan is just to take down all this dead money and try to use my tighter image to my advantage. I'm hoping Yu-Chan will have some offsuit Broadways or some offsuit aces, or maybe a hand he doesn't want to call here out of position. Well, He has a pocket pair. We're sitting very deep stack, around $11,000 effective. So he's going to go set mining and make the call. We're going heads up here in a 3-bet pot, around $2,200 in the middle. And the flop comes out King 5 Deuce Rainbow. A great board for me. I should have the range advantage here. I can have aces, ace king, and pocket kings. He really shouldn't have too strong of a hand on this board. He should never have 2 pair here, and he can really only have 2 sets. With all that being said here, I think it's a spot I can easily double or maybe even triple barrel off here. So my plan is to start out small with a $600 bet. If he calls, I'm going to ramp up the bet sizing on the turn, and depending on what the run out is, I may go for a huge bet on the river, trying to get him to fold out a smaller pocket pair or a weaker king high hand. But lucky for us, Yu-Chan decides to go for the raise on the flop. He gives us an out, I instantly fold, and I guess we lose the minimum here in a 3-bet pot versus a flop set. I was actually pretty card dead this entire stream. I didn't really pick up too many playable hands. I was trying to get in there and try to make things happen, hence why I 3-bet ace-9 offsuit last hand. Well, in this hand, I have got to make things happen. I've got the knit button, and there's only one other player with the button as well. The loser of this knit game has to pay $200 per player at the table, so that's a $1,400 penalty. Well, with ace-4 of diamonds, finally a playable hand, I raise it up here to $1,000. My opponent here in the $200 straddle still has his knit button and makes the call. So now we're heads up for the money in the middle, and also heads up to that $1,400 penalty for the loser. I end up flopping second pair on a 7-high board. I continue for a $1,200 bet, and my opponent makes the call. $4,500 in the middle. I still have $6,800 left in my stack. The loser has to pay the penalty, and the turn card's the 6 of spades. I hate this card. Brings in the flush, also brings in a card over my pair, brings in some straights as well. Given the fact that I'm so deep stacked here out of position, I slow down and check, and my opponent checks behind. The river card is good for us, though. It comes the ace of clubs.
Pair for Lexo.
All in.
And he's going to go all in, and Allah is going to be the one paying the knit tax. $200
Oh boy.
to each player. He's going to ask for change from his buddy next door.
Second time in a row where he's lost, right? He lost.
After this hand, I win another small pot with King 9 of spades, and now my stack is up to $13,000, profiting $4,700 so far, but the game is not over. Multiple people on the table cover me, and up next, I end up playing a huge, massive pot with pocket jacks.
Okay, sorry.
He did call.
Yeah, guys, he accidentally misses 100.
Unfortunate.
Hello, aces.
Pocket jacks for Lexo. Yushan opens to 200. Lexo wants to play for a little bit more. Says, let's do it for 7.
So imagine you lost a 30K pot. You won't be home.
So just pass out.
Always kind of hard calling 3 bets out of position with King Queen. So Yushan instead elects to 4-bet to 2,000.
Yu-Chan raises I 3-bet to 700 with pocket jacks, and now he 4-bets me to $2,000. I would say this player is the best player at the table. I'm not looking to play too many big pots with him. He is definitely capable of putting in some huge bluffs and really putting me to the test. So with pocket jacks here, obviously folding is out of the question, given the fact that we're so deep stack. I do consider putting in a 5-bet, but I feel like that would just be a massive overplay here with jacks, which means my only option is to call and pray I do not get stacked.
Yushan and Lexo.
Pot already has 5K in it.
Jess
Up 4K.
will give him 3.
When I saw this flop, I did get a little sick to my stomach knowing that there's just no way I can ever fold pocket jacks here. I had a $13,000 stack before this. If my opponent bets and bets and jams, I'm just going to have to call down with jacks, and sometimes I'm going to lose. I'm just going to have to hold on for dear life. Well, my opponent decides to put out a C-bet, which I assume he's going to do with 100% of his range here. He makes it $1,100. Given the fact that he can have aces, he can have kings, and he can have queens, all bigger pocket pairs than me, a raise really wouldn't make too much sense. We are still beating some of his bluffs pre-flop like ace-4, ace-5, ace-jack offsuit, king-queen offsuit. We're beating ace-king and ace-queen as well. So I make the call and the turn cards to 5 of diamonds. There's now $6,300 in the middle. And now my opponent slows down and checks. An interesting spot here brewing with pocket jacks. 4-bet pot, he checks the turn. I don't think he's going to be checking the turn very often with aces, kings, or queens, so we most likely have the best hand. And in poker, when you have the best hand, you should be putting money in the pot, except when you're up against a very tough player who could put you in very tough spots, sometimes you may want to deviate from those plans. So let's say I bet $2,000 here with pocket jacks, and then he jams all in for the rest of my $8,000. That could put me into a very, very nasty spot. One thing I'm almost certain he doesn't have here is a flush draw. Let's say he did have ace-king of diamonds, king-queen of diamonds, ace-queen of diamonds. If he picked up a flush draw here on the turn, he would most likely always be double barreling. So given the fact that he checked here, he's either checking with some showdown value, either with a hand like ace-5 or maybe pocket tens, or he's totally giving up here on a bluff. If he has king-queen, ace-king, or ace-queen, he only has 6 outs going to the river. So I decide to pot control here on the turn in a 4-bet pot and check back. Also kind of under-repping my hand a little bit, maybe giving him some rope to potentially fire out a big bluff on the river.
Goes for a check here. And fades that river. The jacks are good. Yushan might think he's up like a hand like ace-jack.
Yeah, I need the
Harder to have ace-king, ace-queen. Especially after he flats the 4-bet. Ace-king's pretty much perhaps out of the question. Blocking ace-queen yourself with the king-queen. Yushan trying to decide, can he bet and realistically tell the story to get his opponents off a hand? He elects not to do it. Mike D says, I don't care if you guys are in the middle of a big hand. I'm shaking your hand and saying good evening.
Good.
After checking back the turn, the river's to 4 of hearts, and Yu-Chan now checks to me again, so obviously bluffing is out of the question by him. He most likely has completely given up with an ace-high hand or a king-high hand, or it's possible he could have some showdown with ace-5 or pocket tens like I said. I definitely think I should be betting this river, maybe around 1/3, or even a polarized sizing of over the size of the pot, but I just don't think he's really ever going to have a hand here that's going to call me. Pocket tens would bet the river by him. He probably just has an ace-high or a king-high give-up, so I don't think I can get called by many worse hands if I bet in a 4-bet pot. So I check back, take my jacks to showdown, and they are good, winning over a $6,000 pot here. Luckily, we didn't get stacked, and now I'm sitting with over $16,000 in front of me. I will admit, if this game was a little bit smaller, I would definitely consider betting there on the turn or betting there on the river. This is a large game for me. It's a very deep stacked poker game, so I played this one a little bit passive, but it worked out for us. We are now up $7,700 with just a couple more hands left to play. I put on the $100 straddle in this hand, so the blinds are at 10, 25, 50, 100. Folds all the way over here to Yu-Chan, who we've played a decent amount of pots with, and he raises here to $300 in the big blind. I'm in the biggest blind, the $100 straddle, with Queen Jack suited. Given the fact that Yu-Chan's going to be very wide raising here in the $50 straddle versus my $100 straddle, Queen Jack offsuit's just such a strong hand. I decided to 3-bet to $1,050. He's going to fold out all of his trash hands that he's raising here, and he could be calling with worse hands like Queen 10, Jack 9, Jack 10. Also hands we dominate with clubs as well. Given the fact that I'm in position, I want to try to have the aggressiveness in this hand. He's got king 9 offsuit here, which is the exact kind of holdings I'm targeting here with my 3-bet hands that are slightly better than me that can't really withstand the pressure of a 3-bet. Well, he does decide to make the call, which I think is a little bit loose, but he's probably on a live stream, wants to see some flops, which we do. Heads up to 10-6-3 2 diamonds. I completely miss on this board. If there was a club on the flop, I would consider c-betting here. But given the fact that it's all red, I've got nothing at all. I check back, turn card 7 of hearts. This card's going to be much better for his range. Calling here, he's going to have a lot more sets. 2 pairs and straights compared to my 3-bet range. When he leads out here for a $1,500 bet, we have a pretty easy fold here with queen high, and he takes this one down with king high, and this ends up being our last hand of the stream after 5 hours of playing a massive poker game, super deep stacked here in Texas. I end up profiting almost $7,000 on the day with over a $14,000 cash out. Alright guys, that is it for this one. My very first time playing here at the brand new Lodge live stream. It was awesome. Super cool. Very professional, very private. The game was big. It was definitely intense as well because there's no background noise. So it's just dead silent in there whenever there's big hands going on. We played 10, 25, 50, sometimes 100, sometimes 200. I was risking $20,000 for this game. I started out with a $5,000 buy-in, added on $3,000, and cashed out for $14,895 for a $6,895 profit. Good day, very good profit. I did sell action for this game, so not all of this is going to be a profit towards me, but it was fun as always here at the Lodge. They're great. It was an awesome game. Unfortunately, though, I didn't really pick up a ton of huge hands. Like I didn't get aces, kings, queens, no ace king, no ace queen. I flopped one set of 5s, and then I made that big bluff there in the Nick game with ace jack. I assumed I was ahead, but that was basically it. Like I didn't really get into any crazy big pots. I wasn't able to value bet huge on the river. I pulled that one semi bluff there with ace jack. I played a pretty big pot with pocket jacks, 4-bet pot, but other than that, everything just went my way, so can't complain. Another big win. We were on a huge upswing before this, and today just adding to that upswing, now up over $60,000 in about 50 days. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. We've got one more live stream after this. I'm not sure if I've already said that or not, but I'm gonna go eat now, relax, and just chill out. So that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Till next time, I'll see ya.